Welcome to the March 17th meeting of the Fitchburg School Committee. I will now call this meeting to order. Please be advised that the FATV is conducting an audio and video recording of this meeting for public broadcast. I ask that anyone else in the audience who is recording this meeting please identify themselves for the record now by standing and state your name and city of residence. Seeing none, I ask that all electronic devices be placed in silent mode. Our agendas, we start executive session, not at this time. Call to order, salute of the flag. I think Mr. England? Yes.
All right. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. School committee members and student reports. School committee chair, Mayor Squalia, could not be with us tonight, so there will be no report. Resource subcommittee and school building will be meeting tomorrow night. We'll be meeting at Memorial Middle School at 5 o'clock. Policy subcommittee.
We will be meeting on March 26th, and tonight we have the second and final readings for two of our policies, number 6503, the public comment, and number 6601, student member to the school committee.
Any questions? Seeing none. Student support.
Yes, thank you. Tonight we actually had a meeting at 5 o'clock. On the topics of discussion, we did discuss the professional development scheduled for March 21st. Based upon the feedback from prior professional developments, we offered choice professional development to secondary grades earlier this year. It's actually in this past November of 2024. In which they were able to have some say in some of the offerings of their development. We will now be opening these offerings to most grades on this professional development scheduled on March 21st. At that, on the professional development day, we will have a public speaker, Charlie Applestein, as well as offerings such as universal design for learning, otherwise known as UDL, IEP courses. Michael Molnar will be working with us regarding academic discourse and multilingual learning. We also will have courses regarding the Panorama platform, trauma-informed learning, deeper learning, which is regarding project-based learning. And then in addition to that, we discussed the Instructional Prioritization Institute. This is in regards to Longsjo and McKay. They have been identified by the state as needing targeted assistance. So we have been working with the SSOS for support, the support team to improve student achievement. On April 9th and 10th, the group school administration, teachers, as well as the central office administration and coaches will be attending this workshop. And then our next meeting will be on Monday, April 7th at 5 p.m.
Questions?
Mr. Stevens, can I make one comment? As Lindsay shared, we do have a district-wide professional development this coming Friday from 8:30 to 2:50 at Fitchburg High School. Any school committee member that would like to drop by and attend any of the sessions, you're more than welcome to. When you enter the high school, you'll see Mary Alexandra Molina there, and she can help you find any session you're interested in learning about. So you're all welcome to come.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just a little comment on that. It would be nice if principals would let school committee members know when there are things taking place in their building. so that we would be aware of them, so that we would like to attend. We do get information from some of the principals, but not all of the principals are sending it out. And I've seen things where I would like to have attended where, and I was available, so thank you. School Personnel Subcommittee, we are now in negotiations with the Unit B, which is the School Administrators Union, and that we've held our first meeting, and we'll be holding meetings coming up in the near future. Student.
Hello again. Because of the PTA Day this Friday, there's no school. Fitchburg High School's Miss Rivera and the Latin American Club are running a Princess Boutique for prom this year. So they're offering dresses, shoes, and accessories free of charge so that students can put together a perfect look for prom regardless of any financial constraints. So if you'd like to donate to this cause, the deadline is March 31st, and the boutique will be held on April 17th at Fitchburg High from 2:10 to 3:30 in Mrs. Rivera's room 311. Students from Goodrich and Sizer are also welcome. Memorial Middle School's play Imagine a Dragon is on Wednesday, March 19th at 6:30 p.m. Tickets are $2. Over 40 Memorial students are involved. MCAS testing is beginning in a few weeks, so best of luck to all students taking that. Fitchburg High School celebrated Inclusion Week last week, ending with a pep rally on Friday. During the pep rally, the FHS United Sports Program was recognized by the Special Olympics Massachusetts for its second United Unified Champion School banner. The rally included a friendly basketball game between the FHS Unified and the FHS FHS Unified team and the FHS faculty. FHS Unified won 46-19. The spring sports season is starting all across Fitchburg Public Schools, so there are a lot of games and events scheduled soon for that. Rheingold's Bunny Breakfast is on April 12th from 8:30 to 11:30 a.m. McKay is having a March Madness Carnival on March 20th from 5 to 7 at the school. There will be games, face painting, free books, and snacks. There will also be a yard sale, McKay merchandise, and food for sale. The PTO is looking for baked goods to sell there, so if you wish to donate, please contact the school PTO or call the school for more information. And just so you can mark your calendars very far in advance, the dates and times for Fitchburg High School's musical Young Frankenstein are May 1st at 7 p.m., May 2nd at 7 p.m., and May 3rd at 2 p.m. and 7:30 p.m. This is kind of a shameless plug because I'm in that.
Do you know what role you have already?
Yes, I'm Frederick Frankenstein.
Excellent. Great. And may I say one thing, Mr. Stevens? I want to thank James for staying on with us. We did reach out to Selena, but she was unable to stay on. But James has said yes, and he will be on with us until June this year. So thank you, James. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. I was going to do the same.
Yeah, sorry.
Thank you. That's okay.
I owe him one. He did us a favor.
Thank you, James, from the school committee for continuing to do this. Any questions for the school?
Was last Friday a rehearsal day
For
for the play?
yes.
Okay. I saw you there, so I was wondering.
Could we have approval of the minutes of the March 3rd, 2025 meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All approved. Communications. Todd Robbins?
Yeah, Mr. Robbins said he was going to be here tonight, but something must have came up and he's not here. So we can move on to the next item.
Okay, Academy Street Historical District update.
Yes, Mr. Roach attended the meeting last Wednesday to find out some more information for us regarding what's going on with the historical district around Longsjo.
Yep.
And Mr. Roach is going to report out what he found out.
Yeah, so there was a meeting last Wednesday, the March 12th. It was a virtual meeting to consider 4 either properties or kind of like the Academy Street Historic District districts, which would be a series of properties. So the process was pretty straightforward. They reviewed the application that had been submitted on behalf of from Low Playground to the B.F. Brown Building, the City Stables, as well as the Annex Building and 98 Academy Street, which is currently Longdale Middle School and formerly Fitchburg High School. Reviewed that. There was an opportunity for discussion, really, but the Mass Historic Commission voted unanimously to approve this Academy Street district as a National Register of Historic Places and be recognized through that Mass Historic Commission. So I think next steps will be really to determine what that can potentially do for funding supplements. There can be grants. They are competitive, but up to 50% of potential projects. We're going to review a proposal that we received, or a schematic design with cost estimates for the auditorium tomorrow night at Building Needs. So, yeah, I mean, it could be an exciting opportunity for, for the Longdale Middle School in particular.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Well, I sort of have a question, like, what do you anticipate? You say an exciting thing for Longdale. In terms of what? What do you anticipate this might bring to the area or to the school?
In terms of, I think, what it will do for a lot of what we have already planned to improve the building, I don't see it as anything that will impede our ability to do that. As it pertains to these historic designations, it really relates, what I've learned, to the exterior of the property. In terms of the interior, the Mass Historic Commission in this designation of a National Register doesn't really stop you from upgrading painting or aesthetics, or maybe the gym floors or the auditorium projects or other types of security measures that we might put in place, like locking mechanisms on doors or replacing windows or whatever. So interior, I mean. I don't see that as significant. What I'm hopeful for is that this now does open an opportunity for up to, as I said, 50% matching funds towards a particular project that would...
Like, say, for instance, the stable, which has quite a part in our history.
Yeah.
Is it an attempt to bring back and highlight our history as a special district? And
well,
I'm even thinking maybe, there was that great work at the university, formerly the college. One man did all the work of highlighting the contributions of various cultures to Fitchburg. That area could be highlighted. My mother used to be horse-drawn up to her school.
Yeah, right.
And they would gather there, and it's a very colorful history. So I'm wondering if they're trying to stress the history of it.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend, if you're interested in the history, this application is fascinating.
Is it really?
Yeah, it really is. I learned a lot about the initial years of Fitchburg High, and they actually purchased the property for $2,000 back in 1848. I wish we could use those.
I wish those numbers were today.
For the actual capital project.
Mr. Roach, really what benefits us with this is that there'll be additional funds that the school system will be able to apply for to help rehab some of the spaces in Longdale, correct?
Potentially, yes.
Potentially. That's really what we'll hopefully gain from this.
That's the biggest, I think, potential positive for us. I do understand that it is super competitive and not an infinite pool of funding, and many applications received. So we're working with our project manager already on several ideas around how we could pursue that. But I think that could be one way that we find some funds that would help us with some of the projects that we know we would like to do to, restore some of the grandeur.
Where could I obtain a copy of what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's actually a copy at the public library.
There is a
If
copy?
you go to the reference desk, they have it. They get a copy of all applications for mass historical sites, and it's about, 40-something pages long.
Yeah, I'd say so.
It is. It's a good history of all the buildings in that whole area. It's
The first principal of Fitchburg High became the Attorney General of New Hampshire.
Really?
Yeah, I can't say as I'll follow in his footsteps. But yeah, it's very interesting background on all of those buildings. So the stables included, B.F. Brown, Annex building as well, and Low Park.
Thank you, Mr. Roach.
Yep.
Thank you. Any more questions?
I'll just make one comment. My mother-in-law, Buddy Romberg, she still referred to what is now Longjo as the new high school. I think she and her husband Ralph, I think, were in the first class that graduated from the new high school after the first one burned down. So, yeah.
Still the new high school.
Still the high school. That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Well, the new high school is 25 years old, and it's still referred to as the new high school.
I'm not going to say any more about it.
No.
Okay. Update on the collaborative agreement of CAPS Collaborative. CAPS Collaborative, this document we're asking to approve tonight, this document constitutes the collaborative agreement of the Central Area Programs and Services CAPS Educational Collaborative, which is established and exists pursuant to the provisions of Section 4E of Chapter 40 of the General Laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and 603 CMR 50. This agreement replaces the original dated May 3rd, 1991 as the most amended and recently amended on July 1st, 2024, entered into by and between the school committees and our charter school boards listed in Section 1. The number of districts and will be effective upon the approval of the member districts and the Board of the Elementary and Secondary Education. No agreement or subsequent amendment shall take effect until approved by the member district by the Board of Elementary and Secondary Education on the recommendation of the commissioners. CAPS is made up of Ashburnham Westminster School District, Ayr Shirley Regional School District, Athol Royalston School District, Fitchburg, Gardner, Leominster, Maha Regional School, Narragansett Regional, Orange School District, Petersham School District, Quabbin Regional School District, Wachusett Regional School Committee, and Winchington School Committee. Wachusett is now the 12th member and newest of the collaboratives. The collaboratives serve special needs students from those member communities and is also open for other students statewide. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time,
Can I just add one more thing under communications?
You can, sir.
I just wanted to congratulate the students at Fitchburg High School who were inducted into the National Honor Society last Monday night. It was a very nice ceremony. Kudos to the students who helped prepare it and the two advisors whose names I don't remember.
Roberta McMaster is one, and the other one is
Cassie Jersey.
Cassie Jersey.
Yeah,
Yes.
but a very nice ceremony. I want the students do a lot to achieve that goal, and it should be nice for people to know that they achieved that, and I'm just happy for them, and just a big congratulations.
yeah, it's a very nice ceremony. It was. Thank you, Glenda, for being there and speaking.
Linda Phil Roach.
Anytime.
I had a sick kid that day. I apologize.
No.
Apology accepted. I know you get to a few things. At this time, are there any, Mr. Thompson, any?
I didn't have any communication other than those three. Nobody put in communication to me today, so.
Okay. Anybody in the audience who would like to speak to the school committee? Seeing none. If I got this correct now? Got the right one, Mr. Thompson?
I hope you do. I'm sorry about that.
Okay.
All right.
All right, the superintendent's
Moving
report.
into my report. Thank you very much. This evening, we have the pleasure of welcoming Jessica Sadowski up. Jessica is our science curriculum director, and she will be providing us with an update on science pre-K to 12 in the district. So welcome, Jessica.
Thank you. Thank you for having me this evening. I intend to keep my presentation brief yet informative as possible. So we can jump right in, Mr. Thompson, to the instructional vision.
You should have a hard copy in front of you on your table. Yep.
So in the science department, we frequently reference the district instructional priority. And over the summer, when I gathered a group of teachers to engage in some summer work, we started thinking about what is our actual vision for our department. And so we intend to formalize that vision, because right now, as you can see, it is crafted on some chart paper and sort of lives in my office in between the different meetings when we would reference it. But there's more work to be done in that area. So we are actually assembling a district science council comprised of a variety of stakeholders within the district. And we plan to move from chart paper to a more formalized vision, which will also consist of a strategic plan and some strategic initiatives that align with the district strategic plan. So this is a work in progress for us, but each and every day we really focus on students showing their work in written form and in speaking. We have teachers plan around grade level standards, so that's a huge part of the work that we do day in and day out with teachers. And, we're really using that formative and summative data day in and day out to see and check in how our students are doing. So what you will eventually see will look a little bit more like the document that I have on the right. That's more of a skeleton of our vision and strategic initiatives for the science department. And that will drive our work over the next 5 years. So our goals for students are really for them to engage with in an authentic way with the science and engineering practices. So as I mentioned last year when I was here, it's really about students thinking and acting like scientists. So we want them to engage with phenomena, develop models to explain those phenomena, and those models can be pictures, words, and those support their explanations for what is happening. They'll plan and carry out investigations and really drive that work, analyze and collect the data from their investigations, and then engage in argument from evidence. So those are some of the 8 science and engineering practices that you'll see. As far as the teachers, we really want them to participate in diverse professional learning opportunities. So you heard about some of them coming up on Friday from Miss England, but we will continue to provide opportunities in professional development for teachers in both the content, the pedagogy, and also for how they support all learners. So the science department's focus on Friday for middle school and high school is really going to be about using WIDA to support our multilingual students and how that really interacts with the science curriculum we use in secondary education here in Fitchburg. We're looking for teachers now with their implementation of the curriculum to really facilitate the learning. So they're not up there, really telling students what's happening in science, but they're listening to what students are saying and really culling out what are students figuring out. They're leveraging some great questions that our students are asking, some testable questions, and using that to guide the investigations that are coming up. We use our PLC cycles to preview tasks that are embedded in our curriculum and look at the student work that results from some of those tasks. And by previewing the task, it really helps us to plan for all learners. So that's been an important piece of our PLC work. We are encouraging all of our teachers to consider engaging in a coaching cycle. So much like professional sports, all athletes still engage in coaching, even at the professional level. And so we want to dispel any misconceptions that folks may have that coaching is for people who are just new to the profession. We want to really share and encourage our teachers that coaching is for all. It's an opportunity to reflect, to develop a strong student learning goal, and to work with an instructional coach to find some checkpoints and plan to meet that instructional learning goal for our students. We're also getting to a place where we'd love to see our teachers in the science department. They've really participated in a lot of professional learning, so we'd love to get them in a place where they can actually provide some of that professional learning for their colleagues at some of our school and district-based PD. So we'd love to see that coming up for our teachers. As far as families, our goals for them are really to stay in touch with what's happening in the schools. And one of the best ways to do that is to read the newsletters that come home from principals, from teachers, particularly at the elementary level. There's a lot of information that goes out to our families. Science does not yet have our own separate newsletter or, thing that we send home, but I'm hoping that the work of the Science Council will maybe prioritize some of that so we can get more information out to our families from our department. For middle school parents, we know that sometimes communication with students can be a challenge at middle school, but one of the great things about our curriculum is that we have home communication letters. We've worked to translate those into the preferred languages of our families here in Fitchburg, and so those are sent home for each unit. So please look for those. An example of one is shown at the bottom of the slide there, so that's an example of a home communication letter in English for our CELS unit. But it tells families a little bit about what's happening in science class and the types of questions that they can ask their students. At the high school level, our 4 content coaches contribute to the Coaches Corner portion of the monthly newsletter. So that's another opportunity for high school parents to be informed about what's happening in science.
Before you move on, if I could just ask, what is PLC?
Professional learning cycle. So it's the cycle that we engage with teachers in at each of our schools for planning. So we bring them together usually on a weekly basis, and we tend to go through, a cycle of engaging with the task, doing the planning, and then looking at the student work, sort of week by week.
Thank you.
So for progress monitoring and data, we use a variety in the science department. Our tools in some ways look similar to, and in other ways look different from other content areas. We use some student and teacher surveys because that helps us to understand what they're thinking and what they are saying, how they're feeling. We use the Galileo benchmarks in both middle school and high school, and that helps us to check in on content standards. IXL is also for content standards. That's used in grades 3 through 8 right now for science. We do bi-weekly pacing check-ins. So when we meet in those PLCs, we'll pull up our pacing guides and we'll take a look at those and see where we're at so we can ensure that the intended content is delivered and that we're not going to run out of time, at the end of the year and not be able to cover something. So I just wanted to highlight a couple of things in our data. You'll notice the IXL data up there in green, so it's very appropriate for today. That wasn't intentional. That's the color that IXL provides it in. But in this case, what you're not able to see is the numbers, so I apologize for that getting cut off. But for 6th grade, they have practiced 14 skills. So that's the bar that goes all the way to the right in the lightest shade of green. So they've practiced 14 different content standards, essentially. They are showing that they are mastering or proficient in about 7 of those right now. So they're about halfway there. So the good news is we still have more time left in the year to continue to check in and cover these standards. You'll notice pretty much the same trend for 8th grade and slightly less for 7th, and that really just speaks to the fact that in 7th grade, the units that the sequence of the units that we do for Open SciEd has made their timeline longer. There's actually, if you add up all the days for each of their 6 units, it's more than 185 days worth of material and content to cover. So we've had to really be intentional and work together to find where are the places where we can cut something without losing the sense-making opportunity for students or that storyline that really helps them make sense of what's happening. So they just have a little less time to engage with this resource, so that's why you don't really see, that skills growth. I think it's still there, and we do definitely see it in the benchmark for Galileo. So we see it in other tools that we use, like benchmark. Everyone is really consistent about doing those as a pre, a mid, and a post. So we'll do another one in June, and we expect to see some growth there. We've already seen significant growth on the benchmark in all of the standards that we've taught so far. So that's been great. And I do want to highlight specific data from the high school. So we have seen approaching a 20% increase in the growth of standards mastery from last year. So that shows that we're trending in the right direction. I want to acknowledge that there's still room to continue to grow. We're not going to stop with this 20% growth. We want to keep that momentum going. But I thought that was a real positive for us at the high school. I also want to highlight some of the questions that were asked on the surveys. So teachers were asked, how confident are you that you can teach the Open SciEd curriculum? And they're expressing that they're fairly confident. This is great news because we have people who are new to the district, who have maybe only 1 or 2 units of training under their belt right now. And we have teachers who have been doing this work for the last 3 to 4 years, and they've been trained in all 6 of the units that they teach. So what we know from this is that as teachers get more training, their confidence with implementing the curriculum grows and grows, which is great. The teachers feel that the district is supportive of the Open SciEd instructional vision. So the work that we're doing here in the district is aligning with the vision for Open SciEd instruction for both middle school and high school. It drops off a little bit when we look at the school level data. So, this was taken at the very beginning of this year, and some of that could possibly be attributed to some of our newer people not really fully knowing the Open SciEd instructional vision or the school's instructional vision, and they might be learning that. So it's definitely something that we'll keep an eye on, and we want to make sure that our visions all align from district to school, or district to department to school to teacher to student. We want that alignment across the board. What I love about our data too is that when we asked students about when they figure out ideas as a class, 74% of our students in middle school said we do that with our teacher helping us but not telling us the answers. And that is precisely what I mean by teachers stepping aside and facilitating the learning. We want students really being in that driver's seat and letting them figure things out.
There's a delay, sorry. There you go.
Thank you. We also have different kinds of data. So this model on the left is a model that was created by a kindergarten student back in October, and this student was part of the Mass Autobahn program, the Science of Massachusetts, and they went out into the schoolyard. They studied some organisms that were living in the schoolyard around South Street, and they had to think about what were those organisms needing that would keep them alive. And so once they did some observations through a series of different meetings with the educators from Mass Autobahn, the students started to form ideas about exactly what would be needed to create a habitat to allow these organisms to survive if they captured them and kind of kept them in the classroom for a little while. So they actually brought a jar in. They went out to the schoolyard again with the educator and their classroom teachers. They gathered up some of those materials and put together a habitat to sustain that living thing. So in this model that the kindergartner made, they've used color coding. They've used a key. So they're using letters to represent those first letter sounds. So remember, they're still learning how to read and identify those letter sounds. So we have a leaf, a rock, some green for the grass that they collected. They knew that they needed air, so they made holes in the top of their habitat to provide some air for their little critter. They added some water, some dirt. You see the worm represented by the squiggly line, and the rectangle represents some of the sticks that they added to the habitat. So they were thinking of all the things that those little creatures would need to survive.
Really good. That's a kindergarten.
So much fun. Yeah, I have a picture of it on my second to last slide. So you'll get to see the joy on their faces in that picture. We also wanted to share discussion maps. This is something that we are using that kind of goes back to that instructional priority about student discourse and students explaining their thinking by speaking. And so in the middle discussion map, we can see a lot of student to teacher and teacher to student interaction represented by those arrows. So the students are really kind of talking to the teacher. You also see in the middle and towards the left side of that picture, there's a few shorter arrows that sort of go back and forth. That's students engaging in a turn and talk. So they're talking about a question that the teacher has posed and, really getting that opportunity to share some ideas with one another. It also points out areas where, we just might want to have some awareness and some opportunity. And so the yellow highlights were students who had an idea to share, but they didn't quite get to share yet. They might have raised their hand and they might not have gotten called on yet, but, they had something to contribute and there was evidence of that. So these become great tools for working with teachers in the coaching and giving them that opportunity to plan and reflect on what's happening in their classrooms. Just another example on the right, a lot of color coding happening in that one. We have students in green talking after they've done some reading, so they've kind of gone to the center and had an opportunity to share some ideas in the center of the room. We have the short little arrows that represent that turn and talk again, so you're seeing, spots in the classroom where that was a pretty lively conversation, and then some other spots where it might be an opportunity to check in.
Coming.
The lack. Again, showing growth. This is work from the same student early on in a unit compared to much later in the unit. So in this particular unit, students are looking at the phenomena of an individual who's experiencing some, symptoms. They're not feeling very well, and they're trying to figure out what could be causing some of those symptoms. So you'll notice in the initial model, the symptoms are highlighted like brain fog, nausea, muscle cramps, and then there's some others that I won't mention at the moment, but you can see what I mean in the picture. It's along the lines of a stomach bug, potentially.
Yep. We hope that's what it is.
And that's the reality, right? They're trying to figure this out. So in this initial model, the student has a lot of questions. They don't really have an explanation formed yet. They just have gathered some information and they've generated some questions. However, in the model on the right, from the same student, again, this is many lessons into the unit, the top left diagram represents a shared consensus understanding of how food is broken down in the digestive system. So that is something that has been agreed upon by the class. They've done some investigations. They've really all come to the place that this is what we think is happening inside the body. But now the student is tasked with bringing it down from the large scale or the macro scale to the micro scale and thinking about how does food change inside a cell and then what happens to it. And so you can see that explanation and that modeling really growing. So we're trying to find ways and thinking about our summer work for this coming year and think about how we can capture growth between models like this.
It's excellent.
So it'll be interesting.
Yeah. I think this really showcases the work that we're trying to do with Open SciEd, right? With the initial model and then, as we continue to investigate what students actually learn by the end, which is
right. And it really takes into account and honors where students are at, right? So they take some of that lived experience. That was a piece of the home learning that I don't think I mentioned, but, one of the 6th grade units on healing, students, their home learning is to go home and think about an injury, talk to a trusted family or community member, and kind of come up with a story about an injury that they know has happened and think about the healing that may or may not have occurred from that injury. So what body parts were injured, how long were they resting or laid up and unable to, engage in their typical activities, and then what did the healing process look like? So it really is that experience and that home piece. So that's another way for families to engage with their students. So I'll wrap up now with positive highlights and next steps. Year 2 of our instructional coaching has been amazing, and it has really pushed our Open SciEd work forward. So we have a K-8 and a high school science instructional coach. So they really provide that job-embedded professional learning, working right alongside the teachers, and it's been really, really important to the work that we're doing in science. The Mass Autobahn program, I've mentioned that earlier, but you can see those kindergarten students in the top right along with the Mass Autobahn educator. So we have had 11 teachers participate in that program in kindergarten and grade 2 so far this year. And I'm really excited to share that on Friday, our grade 1 teachers will also get to work with the Mass Autobahn educators to look at science journaling as well. So they're thinking about really pulling in that literacy piece and going out to make observations and doing some journaling. Another highlight from our department that I wanted to celebrate is that we were awarded a $75,000 grant from the Mass Life Sciences Center last year. It has allowed us to purchase some probeware for our physics program at Fitchburg High and has provided some professional learning that have allowed us to really leverage the assets and resources that students are bringing from middle school up through high school. So that has been really exciting work for us this year. The District Science Council will have its first meeting tomorrow, so I'm really excited to bring that group together. Thank you. That was a recommendation from Glenda, from Assistant Superintendent Cologne, and I'm really excited that we're finally seeing this through and have this opportunity to formalize a vision, because I think having some clear next steps for us as a department is really going to move things forward, so very exciting. I also wanted to celebrate that Fitchburg is being seen as a leader in the Open SciEd community. The community continues to grow across the state of Massachusetts and across the country. We've recently hosted in the fall several districts from Massachusetts who were considering implementing Open SciEd. So they came out to Memorial, visited our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade classrooms there so that they could see what the work looks like and determine if that was an appropriate next step for their district. So for other districts to want to come out and see what we're doing here in Fitchburg is just something to be really proud of.
Mm-hmm.
How many years have you been using Open SciEd?
So this is year 4, pretty much for us at middle school, 4 or 5-ish. I say that because Longsjo got into it first, and then they opened a grant that allowed both Longsjo and Memorial to apply. So Longsjo kind of piloted because they had the commitment from 2 teachers per grade level who really wanted to move forward with that work. So we're in year 4 or 5-ish of it. Another piece that speaks to us being a leader is that we brought 4 students to the Mass Open SciEd Community Day panel this month, and those students sat in front of about 200 teachers and leaders from across the state to share their experiences with Open SciEd. We're going to share a little 1-minute snippet of that with you in a moment. But it's not just that. Our students are going to be going to the showcase at the New Balance Center in May. And so we're bringing teams, or we're maxing out our teams from Longsjo and Memorial and bringing as many teams as we can. So we brought a smaller number of teams last year, and we're bringing more teams this year to share their work, and they get feedback from industry professionals. So it's a real highlight for us. So Mr. Thompson?
I'm going to
we'll try
this
the video.
Let's see if we can.
So in this video, students were asked if you could tell a room of educators what science is like.
It's not as usually quiet.
What would you say to them? And so we're about to hear from
you start to build.
5-minute mark.
Okay, I got it. I'm ready. 5:04 is close enough, I think.
Yes.
Right? Okay,
Yep.
Here we go.
So what was it again? The question they were asked?
Let me just,
Okay.
So they were in a room full, so the facilitator says, you're in a room full of science teachers and leaders. What is one thing you wish all of them knew about how students learn science? And this is their response.
And these are our students responding.
This is our students from
A
Fitchburg.
panel of teachers, right? Here
Yep.
we go.
They were so brave.
Yeah.
What would you want them to know?
Well, a lot of kids are probably not gonna like it first day, but like as you progress through the year, they're probably gonna like it more than they used to. And plus,
Normally students are more fond of engaging in hands-on activities like messing around or fidgeting around with an item related to the topic or unit. Normally that brings out more excitement and more interest from students to an assignment or activity.
Like Leo said, it's better for people to learn. Well, a lot of people I know, it's more easier for them to learn visually, like with hand-on activities, because then they get more of an understanding on the topic.
I would say just to keep pushing like your class to be better and more like talkative to get all their points into class, and it'll help like students who don't want to talk be talkative and like share their ideas.
As well as set a proper setting where all students that are normally shy and don't have all that excitement in participating, if you set a comfortable enough setting for them where they know you can be trusted or you're willing to listen to them, even if it's wrong prediction or correct, that they can proudly say their answer and you won't judge.
So you heard that round of applause that continued on until the end of the video. So it lasted about 30 seconds. So it was just a great moment for our students. They were proud of themselves. We were proud of them. And if it was difficult to hear, a couple of their highlights were that they want teachers to know that they want to talk about their ideas. They want to share their ideas. They want spaces where they can feel comfortable doing that. And so that's what really helps them to learn and grow. And so that's a lot of the work that we've been doing. I don't want to end without highlighting two clubs at Fitchburg High right now. The Women in STEM Club has been working with Counselor at Large Sally Cragen to explore some opportunities for careers in STEM locally for women. So they've been looking at forensics. They have upcoming visits planned with members of the police department. So that's a really exciting thing that's happening. And a shout out to our Envirothon team. So they were recently at UMass Lowell. They went to workshops run by PhD students at UMass on sustainability, food justice, to name a few. And they looked at the overlap of majors and careers that connect to environmental sciences, which is one of our pathways at Fitchburg High School right now. So they are going to be competing at the Envirothon in May, and we want to wish them well when that Envirothon team from FHS goes out there to their competition. So that's it for tonight. If you have any questions, I'm happy to field questions you may have.
Questions for Jessica?
The comment, I love hearing Fitchburg in the forefront of all this science. And
me too.
To see the growth, the young ones, the older ones, and your excitement while sharing it with us.
Thank you. I mean,
Thank you.
the students and teachers really make it worth, all of the effort. And it's looking back over the last, 4 or 5 years, learning those things during COVID and having to jump into remote learning while trying teaching in a different way was really difficult. But we're really finally starting to see that growth. So it's been really exciting. It's been a turning point this year.
Am I good? Okay. Where were those students at the panel from?
They were from Memorial.
Memorial.
Yeah, so they were Memorial students.
I like early on the student experience question about they figured out ideas as a class, the teacher helping but not giving them the answer. And I think it really does open up the need for working with others, discussing, and succeeding by learning through some failures. And I think it's a much better way to learn than just standing in front of a class and going through everything. It's nice that participation exists. And
it seems like you're recalling my slide from last year that had like the Jeopardy champion, and it's like, yes, you can memorize facts, but those things now you can look up, and it might serve you if you're going to be on Jeopardy, which we would highly encourage our Fitchburg students to give it a shot if they're interested. But at the same time, let's authentically engage as scientists and have that chance to share ideas and grow them.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jess.
so much.
Well done. Great. All right. Next item on the agenda, we need approval for an out-of-state field trip. This field trip is for our first graders at McKay Elementary School. They'll be traveling, would like to travel on May 23rd to the Friendly Farm up in Dublin, New Hampshire. So because it's an out-of-state field trip, we will need your approval for that. And they have gone on this field trip before. They went last year.
Mm-hmm. Any questions on the field trip?
No.
Okay.
No.
And we can wait till later to approve that.
It's on the, it's on the, yeah.
All right. So our next item, I have a black. Okay. All right, there we go.
Thought it was
Technology
a
is-
redacted version that we're getting here.
Technology is a little slow this evening. I apologize. So this evening, we're here to give you a first-year update on our Student Opportunity Act plan. If you recall, last year we had to submit another 3-year plan. It was the mid-year point for the Student Opportunity Act. So we submitted our plan and it got approved. And today we're here to update you on the work that we've done this year around the Student Opportunity Act. So in front of you, as you recall, this is our promise. All means all, every student, every day, no exceptions. And we have our, on the right, we have our, if all staff, families, and community partners collaboratively identify and remove barriers to personal growth and achievement, then every student will be ready to learn and access high-quality core instruction and social-emotional supports. So these are our promise to our students and our community and the work that we've been engaging in. And these are our 6 commitments in front of you. I won't read each one, but these are our 6 commitments that illustrate the work that we're doing in our district strategic plan. As you all know, we're updating our strategic plan this year, and we'll have a new version for you by the end of this year, beginning of next year for you to see. So these commitments may change, but these are the 6 commitments that we are committed to this year and have been over the last several years. And there's just a reminder, the Student Opportunity Act began around 2019, and what it did is it really changed the formula for supporting school districts in Massachusetts. And what it really did was it provided more funds for for districts who serve students of the greatest need. Fitchburg is one of those districts. So we have been a beneficiary of the Student Opportunity Act. This is our 5th year. You know, we're still moving, you know, in the right direction, utilizing these funds. And the 4 subgroups that we are targeting here in Fitchburg are our special education, our English language learners, our EL students, our Hispanic Latino, and our low-income students. Because of these 4 subgroups, we have received a lot more funding from the state because of our students in need. So we are beneficiaries of this money because of these subgroups of students. In front of you, I just wanted to remind you of where we've been with the Student Opportunity Act. Again, we have the first 3 years, 21, 22, and 23. Those were the first 3 years of the Student Opportunity Act. Again, last year, we had to rewrite and resubmit our plan. It was approved by the state. And this year, spring of 2025, I'm here tonight updating you on where we are in our progress. So the state requires you to choose 3 evidence-based programs that we will spend the additional funds on. As you remember, last year I came to you and you approved these 3 evidence-based programs to use the additional Student Opportunity Act funds on. So the first one was 1.3, Diverse Approaches to Meaningful Family Engagement, really focused on training all staff on multiple strategies and tools to engage with families and tools to engage with families in a meaningful way for 2-way communication. 2.2C, Collaborative Teaching Models. Develop or explain co-teaching and other evidence-based models that leverage collaboration and to best service students with disabilities and multilingual learners. And then the last evidence-based strategy is 3.3b, support for effective team practices. District and schools provide all staff with robust training, additional common planning time, and ongoing support in implementing effective team processes, use of protocols, and effective data use as part of a cycle of inquiry. So tonight what I'm going to do is we're going to break down exactly what we have done in these 3 evidence-based practices this past year. Okay? So far, so good? All right, the first one is 1.3C, diverse approaches to meaningful family engagement. So a lot of the work that we've done this year is we've really looked at deepening our equity work, or our welcoming and belonging work for our students, making sure that all our students feel welcomed in the schools that they attend. In addition, also welcomed and feel belonging in our school district. So what we've done is we've partnered with Equity Imperative, and we've focused on developing our educators or our leaders in our school principals, to foster these welcoming and belonging communities in their school. So that's the work that we've done with Matthew Rodriguez, who is the owner and president of the Equity Imperative. That's his company. He's come in and worked with our principals on how to establish that welcoming and belonging atmosphere in their schools. So we've had several professional development sessions this year with him. The other piece that we've also done, we've also worked with Matthew Rodriguez, and he's done some work in investigating our Welcome Center. As you all know, one of our main goals around this initiative is to actually develop and start a Welcome Center here in Fitchburg for our families. So that's the work we've been doing this year, is kind of exploring and looking at all the latest research that says what the best practices are around welcome centers. So we've been working with Matthew Rodriguez and his company, and he's been doing that research with us, and we've been working with him collaboratively to develop and plan our welcome center. In addition to that, myself and several other central office administrators, we've went and visited several welcome centers throughout the state. We've looked at 8 welcome centers. We went to Lowell, New Bedford, Leominster. Well, did we go to Fall River too? Did we go to Fall River? I can't even remember.
We've gone to so many.
We've gone to so many. So what we've done is we've actually gone to these welcome centers. Arlington. We've seen to see exactly what they offer their students and their families. So we can actually look at what those best practices are in these welcome centers and bring that back to Fitchburg. So we've been learning a lot in these visits, which has been great. And the last thing that we've been doing is we've been really working with with Fitchburg State University. Fitchburg State University is such a great partner, and they have offered us a space, hopefully on Main Street hopefully beginning next year, to actually house this Welcome Center. So we're still in talks with Fitchburg State, trying to carve out all the details. So we're looking forward to coming back and sharing later on, whether it's later this spring or early next year, on where we're at with our Welcome Center. So again, we're still working out the logistics around this and doing the research, because we really want to open a Welcome Center that really meets the needs of our community and our families. Another great initiative has been the Family Institute for Student Success, the FIS initiative. We launched this this fall at South Street Early Learning Center. And what this is, it's a collaboration with the state, and what it does is it actually works with families and lets them know how to actually leverage the family's support and how to make that two-way communication in schools more successful with family collaboration. So it it does a number of different workshops with families and staff, and it develops, it makes families really understand what it is, what it means to be collaborative and work with your school. It lets them know all the information that they need to know about IEPs and ESL students, and just the different information that happens now in school throughout Massachusetts. So we've had the first wave happen this year. Do you know how many parents actually participated in that off the top of your head, Glenda? I can't remember the number. It was several.
Yeah, I don't remember the number off the top of my head, but I do know that we had a wait list, and so
Yes.
it was so successful that we're actually running a second session this year.
And it just started.
Yep, and it just started, yeah.
2 weeks ago. So they've been meeting. I think they've already met twice. So the second session has started at South Street. But what we're going to be doing next year is, now that these families are now moving to the other 3 elementary schools, we're now going to start this programming in our elementary schools next year. So we already have these parents that have been champions of this, and they'll be able to continue that great work in our elementary schools, and we can expand that. And our hope is we'll continue to expand that at the elementary level, the middle school level, and then the high school, so we really can improve that family collaboration and support. And then the last piece is just our strategic plan. As you all know, we're in the 5th year of our strategic plan. So over the last few months, we've been working with our partner, Carrie Purcell, and we've been working with her on different focus groups, from parents all the way up to staff, to get more feedback on really what they envision the school district looking like in the next 5 years. So that's the work that we've been doing this year around the strategic plan. And again, I hope to have it. Actually, next school committee meeting, I will have an update for you on where we are with that strategic planning work that we've been doing. So I'll get a little bit of an update, and then we'll be launching our new strategic plan in the fall of next year. Okay? So that's the first initiative, diverse approaches to meaningful and family engagement. Glenda is then going to talk a little bit about collaborative teaching models.
Great. So the first initiative that we have done under this model is enhancing co-teaching. As I've shared in the past, we have partnered with Blue Engine, and one of the things that they have supported us with is, participate in learning walks with educators, so that we can look at the current practices that we have and really refine them. Another thing that they provide is job-embedded coaching. So what's really great is they go into classrooms and give direct feedback on how to improve the co-teaching practice that we have. And then another really wonderful thing is, they provide some wonderful professional development, and they're actually one of the members that, were already mentioned before by Lindsay, that we are leveraging during our professional development day this Friday, and they'll be implementing universal design for learning for PD that all educators across the district can participate in. So again, expanding educator development is really important to us. We have continued to partner with Research for Better Teaching so that we can train new teachers in the Skillful Teacher course. So that's something that's accessible. We've run 2 different courses this year. And then we also have a similar support to all of our administrators, and they are working on really supporting them in the process of evaluation and feedback, which is great. Again, we're expanding professional development in a lot of different, spaces. So one of the areas that we have really honed in on is really targeting the training for our new IEP process and model. So that is being offered again this Friday. We're doing some really specific admin coaching in our targeted assistance schools. So again, those are McKay and Longsjo. And then really aligning a lot of this work to supporting our students' social emotional needs. And lastly, we have been, working on a licensing partnership for ESL license. So we have partnered with Fitchburg State to offer ESL courses with 6 teachers currently enrolled so that they can then, end the course with an ESL license.
And Mr. Roach is going to finish up with 3.3B, support for effective team practices.
Yep. So similarly, I think the focus is really to use all the brain energy that we have together to collaborate to improve. And so one of the big initiatives has been around a data cycle model. I think the templates that we've read and studied together and using the protocols around and the different sort of habits of mind strategies is the data and system-wise model that many districts are using because it really can help, make consistent the process of analyzing student work, taking a look at trends in learning and figuring out ways that as educators we can learn from what we're seeing to do a better job. So that's been exciting. I think, building leadership from within is always a goal. We have so many amazing people who work in the Fitchburg Public Schools, and giving them opportunities to develop that and to build their leadership skills with opportunities like the Lynch Leadership Academy through Boston College is, I think, another initiative and strategy that I think is going to bear a great deal of fruit for the Fitchburg Public Schools and the schools in which those individuals are working. I think one of the outcomes that we've seen through the negotiation process, we all came together on this, is we need more time. We need some time after school hours, meaning when students are dismissed, to work collaboratively. Is a challenging word for me right now.
It happens at this
I'm thinking of that corned beef and cabbage.
Yeah.
But I think we need more time, and everybody saw that. So getting additional 16 hours starting next year of collaboration time where teachers and paraprofessionals with their enhanced day can work together on some of these other items that I've already described, and as well as John and Glenda, I think is really exciting and a big investment in the next part of the chapter of Fitchburg Public Schools. And I think mentorship to the existing leadership teams, principals in particular, new principals. As a former principal myself, I know how lonely that role can be. So to be able to tap into an exceptional retiree type principal that we have that works with us and some others is really a huge asset to those individual leaders, and being able to bounce ideas, talk through scenarios and tabletops and those types of things. So yeah, a great deal of collaboration in building those teams.
Great. And just so you know, we need to submit our progress update on April 1st. There's a several lengthy page document that we need to complete that we're almost done. I think we're 98% done, but we just need to put the finishing touches on that we will submit hopefully on, I think our plan was Friday, March 28th. We're going to be early. We're not going to wait till the last minute. So March 28th, we'll submit that, and then it will actually then be posted on the SOA website for the state so everyone can see the work that we've done this year. Okay?
All right. Thank you.
Any questions on the Student Opportunity Act and where we are? Yes.
Correct me if need be. Was this when you were first a student, came in as superintendent, and then you worked on this act, and you had several things that you might have chosen from? There are 8 or 9 items.
Yes. Yep. A list of things. Yes.
Right. And you had 3. You selected 3.
These are the 3. Yes.
These are the 3. So are you pleased with what you started off with? And
I am pleased. I think, like everything, things take time, and I like to be a little bit further than we are, at least with the Welcome Center. I wish we were a little bit further than we are now, because I really think that's an opportunity that we really need to take advantage of to support our families and our students. But I think the other two initiatives, too, around the data cycle work that we're doing, in addition to continuing to grow our educators, especially in providing them with additional opportunities to get more licensure, whether it's around ESL or special education, I think that's valuable, and we've been growing our teachers and providing them with more opportunities to keep them in the district, and also so they don't leave.
It has a feel about it of continuity and development, and it seems good to me.
Yep.
So whatever the other choices were, they didn't. You stuck to the choices you made and developed the.
What we did was I stuck to the choices that I learned from, if you remember last year, I did my entry plan and my entry plan findings. All that work I did with talking to different stakeholders, families, students, I really listened to them, and the themes that I came up with when we were looking at the initiatives for the SOA, I made sure it was aligned to what our families and students
so it seems good. Seems good. But this idea that you have of a family center and a physical place, I don't know what you mean, a storefront or?
Yes, storefront. Yep.
Can you just talk to me a little bit about what do you mean? They drop in or?
Yep, they drop in. So what I would like to do is move our enrollment center down here to the Main Street here.
From South Street?
From South Street down here on Main Street. So it's centrally located for our families.
Who would open the door for us when we rang the bell, though?
There'll still be people there, I promise, Rosemary. Not everyone's leaving, but that enrollment center will be down here in the Welcome Center. So it's a one-stop shop. So they come to Fitchburg for the first time. They enroll their student. We answer all the questions here in this center. We'll have all our supports and programming in this one center where they can get all the needs met here in this one place instead of going to different places throughout the community, throughout central Massachusetts, throughout the city. It's just in one spot.
Frequently when I do go to the South Street, I see a young child, or I see a mother or a father with a child, and that's like just part of the enrollment center now, huh?
Right.
It's very limited.
It's very small and limited, right? And it's not private either. We don't have much space there. So when you have to have some private or confidential conversations, it's sometimes hard to find a spot to do that. So we're really looking for this Welcome Center here downtown.
Would that change where you are physically?
No, I'll still be at central office. But what we hope to do is have kind of a satellite office for myself, for Mr. Roach, for Glenda, for other central office administrators to actually be down here during the week. If anyone needs to meet with us or if we need to have meetings down here, it will be another location for us to be at.
So it would be welcoming to all ages and all times. And
pre-K all the way to 12.
It'd be warm, and they'd say this is you'd get the sense that this is a good place to be.
Yep. And what we want to do too, Rosemary, is we have a lot of other initiatives that we offer for parents, one of them being English classes for parents that are new to our community and new to Fitchburg, and we want to offer them from the Welcome Center and have them there for our families.
And I've noticed in my years here that there's been a great emphasis in talking about families and including families and doing things for families and offering families. And certainly the events that I've gone to have been amazing. So would you call that initiative or that outreach or that awareness that we're part of a bigger whole very successful?
Yes,
and continuing.
It's not just the students. We have to support the entire the student, the family, and the larger community.
Yeah,
that's how we have to now. That's just what we need to do. So okay. Any other questions on the Student Opportunity Act? Yes, Lindsay.
Just a quick question to follow up on Ms. Rosemary's Welcome Center question. You mentioned in response to her that there was the thought is that everything is going to be housed in the Welcome Center. So everything that they would need to enroll or questions, any kind of assistance, it's all going to be there. What things, do you have like one example of what isn't already together at, say, central office that would inconvenience someone that they would have to go elsewhere? I'm just not aware of.
Yeah, so one of the things, let's just say, if there's issues around, let's say we have a family new to Fitchburg or a family that's experienced some housing issues, and maybe they don't have, maybe they're doubling up with a family, or they lost their apartment, or they had some type of hardship. What we want to do is have this location available, and then have certain hours that we can have the housing authority here at this Welcome Center to give families information about how they could access new housing, or what housing is available, or what other opportunities are available around housing.
Okay.
Okay?
Et cetera, right?
Et cetera. More, there's more, a lot more.
That was one example, right?
Yeah, one example is also food insecurity, right? We want to have a spot where, we have, different schools have different food pantries, but we would like to have a food pantry housed here for our families. So if they need food and they're having some insecurities around food, if they need clothing, they could swing by the Welcome Center and pick up clothing for their families if they need it. So it's a one-stop shop for everything. All the family needs, if you think about the needs that a family may experience or a student may experience, we want to have it here at the Welcome Center.
Mm-hmm.
I can sort of foresee that you might have a student entering Fitchburg State College University, and their work at the center would be part of their development.
I'm glad you brought that up. So with our partnership from Fitchburg State, they're actually going to have an admissions counselor there too for the community, so they can drop in if they're interested in learning more about Fitchburg State. So they'll have Fitchburg State swag and information there too in our Welcome Center. So this has been very successful in a lot of cities throughout Massachusetts. And, Pete being here for several years, this is something that they've been talking about for a very, very long time. So I'm really, really passionate about bringing this to Fitchburg.
It goes back to Dr. Fallon. We talked about it.
I think what is great is that the state actually sees this as an opportunity and a benefit to our families now, and they're allowing us to put funds to this. So that's really forward thinking from the state. Okay?
Great.
Any other questions? All right. Last presentation, the home stretch, the big one, our preliminary budget presentation. So as you are aware, Jeremy Mr. Roach shared with you several weeks ago the calendar of our budget development, and this is really our first step. So we're kind of giving you tonight a really high level of where we are in the budget process, okay? So tonight's presentation, I'm going to begin talking a little bit about the themes we are encountering in this budget season. And then Mr. Roach is really going to dig down into the details about our FY26 foundation budget, where we are in the development process as of today, and then go over our next presentation schedule with you moving forward, okay? And then give you an opportunity to answer any questions you have. All right, so as you all know, our ESSER funds and our IVAC funds, our ESSER funds, remember, are the pandemic money that we received because of COVID. And then the IVAC funds are our HVAC funds that we received from the state. They are not available in FY25. However, we have obligated to use some of them, so we are still able to access those. But those funds are running. They're gone now, but we are obligated, so we have commitments in there, so we can still use and tap into the funds. That being said, we have several capital projects happening this summer. One of them is being the big HVAC update happening at South Street in addition to Memorial this year, and we're accessing those funds to use those. So we are able to keep those funds and use those in the HVAC upgrades moving forward. So as you all know, we have heard a lot about federal funding in the last couple of weeks, and it's a changing process. Right now, we don't really have an idea of what impact the new administration will have on our federal funds. So it's a kind of a wait and see. We did attend a meeting this past Friday with several other superintendents, and there was a presentation done by, why can't I think of the name now? Massachusetts.
I'll pull it up.
You'll pull it up. It will come back to me when I need it. But, like they're saying, they're telling us not to panic right now. Right now, we don't have any information on our title funds or our other federal funds. So they just really said, sit back, hang tight, and don't panic. We don't have any exact information right now. What they did tell us is there, we know that the Department of Education looks a little different at the federal level now, with the staff being reduced. The only thing that they could say could possibly happen this school year for the next, for our last quarter, is there may be a delay in us receiving the payments from the state. So what happens is that we put in a request for that fund, those funds, and then it usually we get those funds in our account a couple days after. They said there could be a possible delay in that. So, and if there is, they asked us just to alert them. So right now they said, don't panic, hang on tight. Doug Howgate. He's from the Massachusetts Taxpayers Foundation. He came to the superintendent's, urban superintendent's meeting on Friday and presented this information to us. As you just learned about, this is the 5th year of the Student Opportunity Act that we're in. Again, significant funding. Jeremy will actually go into how much funding we've received over the last couple of years. This has been great for Fitchburg Public Schools in our budget, but what it does, it actually then puts a strain on the city, because their contribution to what they have to provide to the public schools to run the schools increases every year. So that continues to, be a factor that, puts some strain on the city and its funds. Staffing ratios overall, last year, if you remember, I did have to reduce some intervention positions. This year, I'm happy to say I do not have to reduce any positions, and we're currently working with our principals to look at some positions that we may have to add, which I'm very happy that I don't have to reduce any positions. However, we do need to look at some enrollment trends, right? We do have some bubbles of enrollment that are either going up, increasing or decreasing at several levels, so there may need to be some flexibility of moving some staff around in different positions. So that's a really positive. As you all know, we're in our last negotiation session right now with Unit B, our administrators. We have agreements with every other unit, so we are looking forward to wrapping up negotiations, hopefully in the next couple of weeks with Unit B, and then we'll be all set to 2027, which is very positive. And then again, just moving forward with our capital projects moving into this summer. And then again, we'll have some building access will be limited at some of our schools this year. We will be probably housing the majority of our programs again at Fitchburg High School for the summer, because we have a lot of different capital projects happening throughout all our schools, which Jeremy will get into. And then one of the pieces too, I will have, hopefully by next time, I'll have the school year calendar for next year for you to vote on at next meeting, because we need to get that out. And we've been working with the union to actually look at our early release days and use those more strategically and effectively around parent conferences, because we got some feedback around not being able to, some parents that have multiple kids in multiple schools not being able to get to all the conferences. So we're looking at spreading that out next year. And that being said, we'll have to have different different end times for early release days to make that happen. So that's why you haven't got a calendar yet, because I'm working with the union, okay? All right, sorry. I probably went off on a tangent there, Mr. Roach. I apologize. So, Mr. Roach, you want to dive into the budget?
Yep. So we essentially refer to the foundation budget, which is calculated at the state level for all public school districts. It's really considered, in their words, to be the minimum amount that a community has to spend in order to provide an adequate education for students. You also hear the term interchangeably used about required net school spending. That essentially means whatever the foundation budget is for your community, you have to meet that, and then that means you've met net school spending. Net school spending is essentially boiled down to two things. It's the contribution from the community or the regional district, in our case, the city of Fitchburg, and then Chapter 78, which is the contribution made by the state. The required net school spending has to be greater than or equal to the foundation budget, if you go to the next slide. I think what's interesting is the state uses this particular slide to demonstrate how, since the Student Opportunity Act came into law 5 years ago, this is now the 5th year of the 6-year rollout, they've really made an effort to demonstrate how communities like Fitchburg, so we make the list, we make their slide, so to speak, on the one that they present, because this slide demonstrates with light blue the Chapter 70 contribution. If all schools have that 100%, that's the foundation budget. You all, Westwood, Stoneham, Plymouth, Georgetown, Hudson, Rockland, Greenfield, Fitchburg, Lawrence, you all have a foundation budget. You need to meet that. If you meet it, you've met net school spending. If you are Westwood, you're going to get 18.5% of your foundation budget from us, the state. You as a community need to contribute the remainder. If you're Fitchburg, 78% is going to come from the state, 22%, the remainder needs to come from the city, and kind of everywhere in between. You can go to the next slide. The good news for us this year, and you'll see on the next slide, is last year, as Superintendent Thompson demonstrated, when we saw $101 million as our foundation budget, we knew, wow, that's not going to be enough to carry over all the different costs that you'd use to calculate your budget from one year to the next. That's personnel costs, that's supply costs, that's other contracts that are related to providing services to the schools. When we saw $110 million, we knew this is much better. And if you go to the next slide, the biggest reason for that for us, because I didn't spend too much time on it in that foundation slide, for the foundation, it's really boils down to the enrollment of the school and the inflation rate that the foundation inflation index rate that they use to calculate that. For us, we saw a 168 student increase in enrollment. To put it into context, across the state, there was a 380 student decline in public schools statewide. As I looked at it, some districts lost like 20, 30% of their students over the past few years. The exceptions are regional vocational technical high schools, which are their own districts. Those continue to grow. But we're kind of an oddball in the sense that we've seen some increase in enrollment. And then if you break it down further, just like our Student Opportunity Act initiatives, our biggest sort of driver in terms of that enrollment was our language learners. We had 193 when the foundation enrollment was calculated in October. It's now up to 220 since the beginning of the year, but that is a big driver in our increasing foundation budget number and that amount from the state. And then, low income, we also saw a pretty significant increase as well. As we look at these factors, this is just a breakdown by school. It's, you can see the demonstration of high school at 1,200 plus, which is a solid enrollment for Fitchburg High School. The 600s for most of the schools with McKay, a pretty significant, significantly higher. However, I know at our last school committee meeting, Superintendent Thompson reviewed that, the process that we're going to use to increase enrollment at Crocker, given the capacity of that school, will be significantly higher when the new building opens up in just a couple of months now. But some other interesting...
couple weeks, really.
Yeah, that's right, less than a couple of months. We have seen many new enrollments over the course of this year. We do have an increasing immigrant student population, and that's just students who they're in the first 3 years of enrollment in a public school in the United States. And then some school choice information there, so we can go to the next slide. This is, I think, important for us to consider. You know, we heard about this in the Student Opportunity Act presentation as well. Who are our students? And you can see the demographic slice there, and comparing that to the state. So our largest, you know, if we just look at, you know, racial ethnicity background of our demographic, the next slide will get into some other factors, selected populations they call it. You know, Hispanic Latino is our largest student population. That has grown, and that's who our students are. And we love that, and we love the challenge that we have to educate students regardless of who they are, where they're from, what language they initially spoke, what skin color they have, all that stuff. But we do have particular challenges. If you go to the next slide, selected populations is another demographic information, and we'll see that in terms of how that helps our foundation budget. So if you look at first language, not English, English language learner, low income, students with disabilities, and high needs. High needs is any student who is either one or all three of English language learner, special ed, or low income. They could be all three. They could be just one. So 81% of our students are at least one of those three demographic groups.
That's very significant.
It's an extremely high number. And thus, Student Opportunity Act, when it came into law, was designed to help Lawrence and Fitchburg. You saw that on that chart, that and other communities. So this breaks down, you know, there are 12 groups that the state has determined by income status. The group one would be very few small percentage of your students are low income, to group 12, which is 80% or more. In Fitchburg, we're solidly in group 11 at 77% of our students qualifying for low income. And if you can see that boxed out part of the chart, this is our actual foundation budget that we receive on January 22nd from the governor's office. $37 million of that $110 million really are attributed to our largest demographic group, which is low income. And again, I think that's just good for all of us to know as we think about the challenges that we have, the commitment that we have, and the work that we do for our kids.
And just to kind of go back to the SOA, right, those student groups that I said, ESL, special education, low income, this is where the formula has changed and why we receive additional funding now. This is it right here. This slide says a lot.
It does. It breaks it down, I mean, because we've seen a big increase in our language learners as well, and we do receive an additional funding for that. Before Student Opportunity Act, everything from that midline to the right didn't exist.
Yep.
So Student Opportunity Act really determined, hey, communities that serve far more low income, far more language learners, far more students who have different needs, you know, need more money. And I think that's really been a benefit. So if we go to the next slide, I think Superintendent Thompson did mention that does potentially create a strain. So again, net school spending have to be greater than or equal. The common district in the state of Massachusetts goes 27% above the foundation budget. But you have to at least get to net school spending, which is that $110,532,275. You cannot be $110,532,274. You get letters in from DESE. They will charge. They'll
get them all the
say you
time.
need to go to your city council, your town select board. You got to get that dollar.
Yep.
You got to find that. So it really is that contribution that the city has of $24,320,000. They're committed to that. It's likely more, and it is more, because there are other costs associated with running a school system and a large organization like we have. So that's kind of a breakdown there. Those indirect costs, the insurance, the retirement costs, some of those other factors, you know, are what we're working on with the city right now. We can move forward. So this is a breakdown, I think, that does show a little bit of what our direct spending budget will be. So one thing that cannot be calculated in determining your net school spending is transportation. So transportation costs have skyrocketed, not just for us, across the state. This is a frequent chat board, communication board type of topic, especially for people in my role and probably superintendents, transportation coordinators. It's a challenge. We're estimating that based on the current contracts that we have for our 3 tiers of 3 separate types of transportation that we provide. We're hopeful that will really help the city with a solid number. We weren't able to do that last year because we were going into a new contract, so that should help. And then you can kind of see what those indirect costs are, the school-related, the city costs. And that's about where we are right now, $106 million. That has shrunk, but we're working with our, if we go to the next slide, we're working through the process of, okay, this breaks down a little bit further also of seeing that increase. And again, Superintendent Thompson mentioned how the city is the pink bar. Their costs, they've increased the amount they need to contribute as well over the past 5+1 school years since Student Opportunity Act came into effect in 2022. From 22 to 26, it's $5 million more. But you can see the state has contributed $25 million more. So there is a significant increase there since Student Opportunity Act has come into law and supported communities like ourselves. And on the next slide, it really shows exactly what that amount is in terms of the differential from last year to this year. So 2025, we had to make reductions. $4.3 million is not enough to roll over the costs associated with a 5,400 student population that has lots of different needs and, nearly 1,000 employees, et cetera. So $9 million we'll be able to do that and then maybe look at targeted supports to enhance our programming. If we go to the next slide, our process really is, I think, can you jump to the next one, actually?
This one?
Yeah, we're really excited about, on May 5th, a public hearing to present, what we're proposing to not only the school committee, but to the city and the community. And we are working with, like tomorrow we have resource subcommittee. We'll get into a little more detail on some line item review, but the public hearing will be associated with our school committee meeting, but separate from that, and will be at 6 p.m. here in the legislative building on that date, May 5th.
So we'll start with the public hearing and then go in. I'll have a very brief school committee agenda, but we'll go into school committee after the public hearing.
John, should that May 5th, should that say that? It says May 5th, school committee first reading the budget. Shouldn't it say public?
Yeah, we can add. We should add public hearing.
We can tweak that tomorrow night.
Tweak that, but we need to tweak that. Yep.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Thank you, Pete.
Yep, I think we've been working with the schools. They have a process of looking at their student population, looking at the needs, looking at some of those data cycles, and figuring out what's going to really drive improvement. If we go to the next slide, they presented with the central office administrative teams the past couple of weeks. All the schools have done that. Many of the larger sites have done it. We met with special ed today. We met with the instructional technology team, et cetera, school building maintenance. So we're really looking forward to now taking proposals and looking at what we can do and to enhance the experience for students and really drive outcomes for them.
And we'll be reviewing all the requests tomorrow at 1 o'clock.
Yes.
So,
yep.
In our cabinet meeting. So.
And there are some great ones.
Yes.
I think the next slide is just any questions that the committee might have.
No. Questions? Are you giving a per pupil for each student at each
So if we
school?
go back to that,
I think it's 19.
It's 19,000. It's actually set by the state.
No, I mean at each school.
Oh, for
We'll say
instructional
like a Rheingold.
supplies and that type of
We'll say
thing?
600 students. Are they getting a per pupil
So we base, so the non-personnel,
Yeah.
the non-personnel line items, we do assign a certain per pupil amount.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that a little bit
Okay.
tomorrow. Because we have to look at some of those lines and think about them strategically, I think.
Because I've always looked at giving schools some extra money where they can be innovative and do.
Yeah, we've added some line items this last.
For sure.
I mean, compared to last year. I mean, one of the big things we looked at is we added a field trip line, right?
Yep.
Because that that didn't exist before.
We're getting
we added
many
that
requests,
line.
and
Yep. And did we add another line too, Jeremy? We added a.
We're talking about a couple of other ones, too, that we want to review.
I thought we added
around
another.
substitutes.
Yes, substitutes. Yep.
I'm looking at something, if some teacher has something that's innovative.
Yeah,
you know, that we
instructional
might fund
support
something
lines.
500 or 1,000, or whatever. Yeah, where there would be some extra money that people could do some things that are different and innovative in it, building, and it's not the same in each school.
Right.
You know, over and above the per pupil for that building.
Yep. No, I think we'll talk a little bit about that tomorrow, too, and ideas that we have and you have. I think will be a good time to do it now.
I don't think, Debbie, did you ever get any funding for the program you ran at?
One year, the program's been over 35 years now. Way back, there was a small grant that I could apply, but we had to do it as a project. So we had come up with binders for curriculum for all the elementary grades.
Oh, okay.
But nothing.
That's what I'm talking about. There should
No,
be-
everything else was always out of my own
Come
pocket.
on, out of your own pocket.
It still is with
Yeah.
anything.
So
that I
those are
do.
the kind of things that program's been working for years. There should be some money available to do those programs for those students.
We'll look at that. We can look at that. Yep. Any other questions on the budget?
Thank you for the overview.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, we'll be back several more times, so.
Right now.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, everyone. All right, let's move
Okay,
in.
donations and grants.
Yes, so we have two donations. The first donation I have is from Brooks Running Cooperation to Fitchburg High School, the Spring Girls and Boys Outdoor Track and Field. They are providing Brooks running gear for 50 student athletes with an estimated cost of or value of $17,000 plus an additional $1,000 that will be used as a cash gift that will be spent for female and male student athletes on the track and field program. So that is our first donation, which is amazing. And then the next donation is from Iglesia Hispania Adventista Renacer. Did I say it? Renacer? Renacer? Renacea. Excuse me.
You were very close.
I was close. That was for non-perishable items for Memorial Middle School's food pantry with an estimated value of $500.
That's great, too.
That's great.
So thank you to both of those organizations. Yes.
Question related, does every school have a food pantry?
You know, the majority of them, I think, do. I don't think everyone does. But I know Rheingold has a food pantry. Fitchburg High School does.
Big one.
Does Goodrich have a food pantry?
We'll have to get in the end.
Yeah, I don't know that answer off the top of my head. I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Parker does too, right?
They did, I think, before. I don't know if they still have it. But again, think about Welcome Center.
Right.
Now, there's spots to have this, right? This is why I want to have it centralized. So not only a certain handful of schools have it, we all have it, right? We all can support our families.
Right.
So, but I can find out exactly who.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions on the donations? All right. And then grants. So the grants, we have a few to accept. The first one is the Fitchburg High School Financial Education Innovation Fund in the amount of $3,700. These funds will support the financial literacy program happening at Fitchburg High School. And the other grant, the last grant, is promoting safe and healthy learning environments, elevating student voice and well-being. We have received 2 grants. The first one for option D was for $62,500. And then option F was in the amount of $75,000. And these grants are used to continue the work in the after-school program. If you remember, we've done a lot of those youth venture projects, those passion projects that students develop an interest, they do research, and then they go out to, maybe raise funds. We have a lot of students who have raised funds for different homeless shelters in Fitchburg. These funds here will help continue and support that work that our students do throughout the community in our after-school program.
Are these grants, is that 2 grants?
It's the same grant, but 2 different options. We got both amounts.
Are we getting one amount of $75,000 or one for $62,500?
Yes.
There's 2 grants.
Both.
No, it's the same grant, but it's different options. It's option D
So
and
are we
option
going to
F.
vote on option
Your
D and option F?
I think it's all as one. Correct? Because it's the same grant. It's all as one.
Okay.
Well,
Rosemary, you have a question?
Yeah, I had some questions. So just for speaking to what you were just speaking to, so are we going to get $172,000?
Yes, for both. Yep.
Well, 60. Okay, so I want to
130.
explore this a bit. When we get something like this, is there a grant that I could read from which this is a synopsis?
Yep. We can print that off. That is on the Department of Education. They have a website that lists all the grants, and it lists all the information in the grants. I can get that to you.
I would like that before I vote for this. And I'm very conscious of the change in the education department, and language is a big problem because everything can sound right. So I just want to make sure that we're not promoting DEI programs and things like this, or whatever that's men and girls sports, things like that. The language is like a special language in education department. You almost have to, what does one word mean? What does another word mean? What does it include? So I would like to read this in promoting safe and healthy learning environments, elevating student voice and well-being. But when you described it, you said this is specifically for our after-school programs. Well, I don't see that in here. I would just like to read the whole grant so I'd understand.
We can get that to you. Glenda's going to look it up right now, and then we'll send you the information.
Yes, but before I vote on it, and then I'd like to, if you all vote on it and then I get it next Monday, what good does it do me? I'm just speaking up now to say I'd like to
I appreciate that. I do also ask that since, all the agendas are provided ahead of time, if there's an inquiry that you actually ask us so that we can be prepared to provide that. That way we're not delaying funds to our students moving forward.
Can this be something that can be tabled?
Yeah, I think you can.
Okay.
We can table that.
Can we have a motion to table?
Motion to table this one grant.
That would be,
For the study.
okay. Table. We have a motion to table promoting safe and healthy learning environments, elevating student voice and well-being. Do we have a second on the table? Seeing no second on the table, then it stays on the agenda.
Want to move on? You'll vote later?
Yep.
All right, and the last piece this evening is our 2 policies that are up for the second reading this evening and final reading. The first one is policy 6503, public comment at school committee meetings. We had an extensive discussion last time, and we went back, and in your packet we made those changes, and the copy in front of you has the changes that you asked us to make. And then the last reading of the policy 6603, 6601.01, student members to the school committee. There wasn't any updates on that, and this is the second reading for that policy.
Questions,
all I have.
comments?
I'd just like to thank the policy committee. I know you've been very, very busy this year, and I know there's more to come, so I just want to thank you for doing
Thank you.
a very necessary process, maybe not always the most exciting one,
We
but it's
enjoy our
one that,
time.
it's important that we have updated policies, and thank you for doing all of that.
These policies will take effect next meeting?
Now, right? Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
if you vote them in now.
Okay. Okay, we are now down to our action items. Do we have a motion?
Got the right one?
Yeah, it's 25,491 through 25,494.
No, 496.
Oh,
497, right?
I don't,
497, excuse
497?
me. Right here.
Right.
okay.
Like a
491.
motion to bundle?
497.
No, 491 through 497.
Did you just make a motion?
Do we have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to bundle.
Second.
Second the bundle.
I'd take out the one that
I don't have,
It's the,
I would like the one that okay, the one that I am objecting to without further study, I just don't want that in a bundle. If we could take that one out and have an individual vote on that.
There was a motion to table.
And it was denied.
Denied.
Yes, right. But still, I would like to have an individual vote on that, hear the vote.
You want to vote on that item?
Because I want to vote no.
Yeah, we can take that out and
Yeah.
vote separately. on
Yes,
that.
okay, thank you.
Yeah.
so can you
Okay.
amend the bundle motion?
I move to amend the motion to bundle and move to bundle instead items 25491 through.
But if we could, if the bundle could be with the exception of 25,494.
Sure. I move to bundle 491 through 497 with the exception of 494.
Do we have a second on that?
Wait, was it 494?
Yes, 25494, yep.
Yes, it was. Yes, yeah, 494.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Can we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the bundle?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Okay, now we have 25,494.
Make a motion to approve action item 25-494.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? One opposed.
Thank you.
Okay, and no other business for tonight, no executive session. Motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, keeping everyone out late.